Hey guys, so welcome back to my channel, and I know it has been like 10 years since I posted a video, so I actually had another vlog that I was supposed to put up for you guys, but here's the story of what happened, and this is a short story time within a story time. My husband and I traveled to South Dakota to go visit some of his family. We were going to go up there for Christmas Day. We left our house Christmas Eve night, and it was about a 2.5-hour drive, and got on the road, got up there. We spent Christmas Day with them, not doing a whole lot of anything. And that night, I got so sick. So we were there, and we were staying in their downstairs room that they had for us, or their company. And we went downstairs for the night, and we were just watching TV on my laptop, like watching Amazon Prime. And I look at Will, and I'm like, I need you to go get me like a trash bin. And he was like, okay. And so he went and got me one, and then I laid down and thought I was going to go to sleep. And I spent the entire night throwing up, and the next day just puking my guts out. It was horrible. I thought I was gonna die, and I told him, I was like, this is it. This is the end of me. And he was like, stop. And I was like, okay. So that was the first thing to happen. And we were seeing his mom that day, and then like that was on Friday or Saturday. Well, on Tuesday we were supposed to go and see his dad and his dad's wife and their 2 kids. And like we wanted to see all these people, and we had so many things planned, but it didn't quite go that way. So the next day I was feeling, like the day after that, which was like a Sunday or a Monday, I guess, I was feeling like kind of better, but we were supposed to leave when we were checking into our hotel that night because we had plans to go to a water park that day and tons of stuff to do. And anyway, so I felt kind of like better, but kind of not. And so we ended up just going back to our hotel and opening presents and hanging out with them for a couple of hours. And then we stopped at his grandma's house, which was on our way back through, and his dad was staying with them. It was about 40 miles away. And so we just stopped there and saw them the next day and said hi to everyone, and then we got home. And then when I thought I was better, like after my stomach flu, I got sick again. But this time it was like sinus infection and a cough and sore throat, and I couldn't even get out of bed because I thought I was just gonna like die right then and there. And I know I say that, but seriously, I thought that was it. And as you can probably tell, I'm still sick, and I still have my cough, and I still feel like crap kind of, but I am recovering, so I will hopefully be better in the next week-ish. But anyway, so that's kind of the reason why I didn't end up uploading my other vlog, just because there wasn't much to see besides me being sick forever. So that's that story. So the story that I'm telling you today is it's interesting. Like, I love looking back at this story and just seeing how ridiculous I was, but I thought you guys might want to hear this, and if you've never been to a concert, then this is a story time for you, because there's a lot that I never expected to happen. So let's go ahead and just jump into it. So first I want to start off by telling you guys who all went to this concert. It was me and Will and my best friend Kateri, and at the time her boyfriend Michael. And we were all super excited because none of us had been to a concert besides Will. Like, he had been to other concerts, but I had never been to one unless it was like a Christian concert. And there's a difference there. There really is, like between a Christian concert and an actual concert. So this concert was taking place in Boulder, Colorado, which is right next to Denver. And from us, it was a 6-hour drive, but we had to stop in a different town to pick up our friends because at the time they didn't live in the same town as us. So we spent months planning this trip because we knew we were going to have to stay overnight and pay for food and gas and all this other stuff. So the plan was for me to book the hotel, which I did. I booked that hotel like months in advance because I knew that it was going to be busy because they had other things going on that weekend in Boulder. And so I booked the hotel, and everything was perfect, and I kept checking in on our reservation, making sure everything was good, like checking online and all that. And everything was perfect, and we had money set aside for our hotel, which our hotel was really expensive because it was supposed to be a really nice one. It was like $200 and some, like $250 I think. But it was $250 for the night, and we were only staying for one night. We were going to leave the morning of the concert, stay the night, and then leave the next day and come home. And so I had the hotel booked, we had money set aside, and the night before, we were, my husband and I, he wasn't my husband at the time, but I'm going to call him that because he is now. Anyways, we were packing all of our stuff, and we were up until midnight finding which shirts we wanted to take because I had like 15 Pierce the Veil and Sleeping with Sirens shirts, and that's the concert we were going to. It was This Wildlife, Beartooth, Sleeping with Sirens, and Pierce the Veil, which Pierce the Veil is my all-time favorite. So I was like planning which shirts I wanted, and my friend was going to borrow one of mine because she didn't have any other merch. So I was like, you can just borrow some from me. And she was like, okay. So I spent that night digging out all my stuff, picking which one I wanted, and then we got all packed up, and we had to leave at 3 in the morning. So I got a total of 3 hours of sleep that night, and yeah, it was really horrible, but I was so excited it didn't even matter. So we fell asleep, and we woke up at 3 and got in our car and had everything loaded, and we left. And we got to their house by 6, and so the trip was pretty uneventful up until then, because it was just Will and I like driving, and he was driving for a part of it, and I was so tired that I was like so jumpy, and we were actually driving down the road, and there was like a wall next to us, like a mountain basically, so it was like the mountain wall, you know, right next to me, and I like didn't know it was there because I didn't think we were near any mountains, and so I like look over and I scream, and he's like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "There's a wall there," and he's like, "Okay, cool." But anyway, so that was the part of the trip that I was like, oh my gosh. But we got to their town at 6 a.m. and we called them and we found where they were because I had never been to her house before, and we picked them up. And when we picked them up, they were so tired. And my friend is not a morning person. Me, I can be, like, I can get really hyped up if I know I'm going to do something I actually want to do. Like when I go on road trips to go do something fun, I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And even if it's 3 in the morning, I don't care. But it doesn't matter what it is. She could be getting $1 billion that day and she would still not want to get up to do it because she just enjoys her sleep, and I don't blame her, I do too. But anyway, so we picked them up, and at first they were kind of like meh, and then as we got on the road and started listening to music and hanging out, they woke up and it was really good, and it was a really like exciting time. So fast forward, we get to Boulder and we go to our hotel to try and check in, which they told me I could check in early because we were going to get there early because we wanted to take naps before this, but we wanted to be there and find where the venue was and all that. So we go to the hotel that I had booked months in advance. And at the time, we were all 18 years old. So we were old enough to like stay in a hotel. But we show up and there are these two Asians working the front desk. And like, no offense if you're Asian, but like there were these two Asians up there, and there was a girl and then the manager. And so we give them their IDs to check us in, and I tell her that I had a reservation. They told us we could check in early. And she is like not understanding. And like, that's fine, but if it's your job to work with people, I feel like you should, you know, understand what they're saying. And so I tried to explain it to her, and her manager came over and he took Will's ID and he's like, "You're not 21, are any of you 21?" And we were like, no. And nowhere on the website did it say you had to be 21 to stay there. And so I was like, I had called to make sure that this was all going to go smoothly. Like, why was I not told this when I called? And he started like giving me attitude, which made me really, really mad. But I was just like, fine, well, I guess we're not going to stay here. And they were like, oh, sorry. And then they were like, I would check this other hotel. So we were like, okay, well, we'll go check there. And I called up the hotel and I was like, hey, my friends and I are 18 years old. We're trying to get a hotel because the hotel we were staying at told us we were too young to stay there. And they were like, oh, come on over and we'll get you a room set up. So we went to this other hotel, which ended up being so nice. And we walk in and it's very modern, and it has like a Starbucks downstairs and a little like breakfast area, and it was just so nice. And they were like, oh yeah, we've heard that they have really bad customer service up there. And this girl was totally talking with us about them, like talking a little bit of trash on them. And I was like, oh, I love you. But anyway, so we get all checked in and we go up to our room, and there are 2 queen beds, and then there's a balcony that you can go out on, and it's really nice up there. And then a huge bathroom and a closet and all that. Well, I was supposed to take a nap, and so was Kateri, and the guys were just going to hang out, but we ended up not being tired when we got there because we were so pumped to go to the concert, and we hadn't had any food, and so we decided to go get some food, and then we went back to the hotel and we got ready for the concert, and the concert started at 7, and we got there at 4, and we tried to find parking. And this is where the story gets really interesting. So my friends and I, we decided that Kateri and I would find the parking place, and the guys could go wait in line and we would just come find them after we were done. And so her and I, if you've never been to Boulder, like the parking is really, really hard to find. You have to like pay for it. And we didn't know that because we're from a small town. So like we just didn't even think about it. And we didn't bring our wallets because we didn't want anyone to steal them because we don't know the town. And so we were like trying to find a parking spot, and we were driving around for probably 15 minutes just looking for a place to park. And we drive past the venue, and Kateri's driving, I'm sitting there and I'm watching the venue, and we drive past the back, and I see Vic, and I scream. Like, I totally fangirl, which I was always like, if I ever meet a celebrity, I'm gonna be so cool. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, Vic was back in the alley! And I was like freaking out. She's like, what? So she like flips around to go back and see if we can see them. And as we're pulling back by, they're like walking inside. So she caught like the back of his shirt and I was like, oh my gosh, you missed it. Vic just went inside. And I'm like freaking out like a total fangirl. And her and I are like just going crazy. Like we are those girls. And I was like, I can't believe I just screamed like that. What the heck is wrong with me? And she just starts laughing and she's like, it's okay. I would have done the same thing. And so we finally find a parking spot like 4 blocks away and we had to walk to meet the guys, but that's okay. Wasn't a big deal. And we went to find them in line and we got in line just fine, but it was so cold that night. It was like 20 degrees and her and I are only wearing like thin little Pierce the Veil hoodies. And if you've ever worn band merch, it's not meant to be warm. It's meant to be fashion, you know? So we're wearing those and we're like freezing. And the guys, I think, Will had on a leather coat, which kept him pretty warm. And then Michael, I think, had on like a snowboarding coat or something like that, but he was okay. And we waited out there for like 3 hours for them to open the doors. And finally, at 7:15, the concert was supposed to start at 7, but at 7:15 they open the doors and we go in and get through and they like scan our thing and we go and we're trying to find a place to stand because it's general admission, meaning you can go wherever you want. So we go up to stand towards the front, of course. You know, everyone wants to be up there, but we were really close to the front of the line anyways because we had shown up so early. But there were girls in line starting at noon. 7 hours ahead of time. And that was not us. Like, we were not that much of overachievers. But anyways, so we get in and the first band to go is This Wildlife, and if you've never heard them, their music's pretty calm and laid back and all that. So during this, there's plenty of spaces between people, and so her and I start like weaving our way through the crowd, trying to get to the front as close as we can before our bands come on. And my husband's like holding onto the back of my shirt because he wants to be within arm's reach because these people, like, they look kind of scary. So her and I get to where there's like one person in front of us, or 2 people maybe at most. So we're pretty close to the front. It's okay. It's not too packed and we're still warming up and it feels really good and, you know, everything's going good. Well, This Wildlife ends and Beartooth comes on. If you've never listened to Beartooth, they're a little bit wild. A little bit. Not too bad, but a little. And the first thing that Caleb says, which is the lead singer, Caleb Shomo, he says, I want all of you to take 2 steps forward. And so everyone pushes up on us and we're like crammed in there and I can't even move my arms. Like I couldn't lift my arms if I wanted to. And I'm like standing there and I'm like, oh my gosh. And it gets warm like super fast. And I was like, this is not good. So everyone starts moshing and like shoving us. And then there's this guy who has his girlfriend at the front and there's a gate. So he has his arms on the gate and she's like standing in between him. So he's holding onto that gate for dear life. And during this process, we're trying to hold onto the gate so we don't get sucked into the mosh pit. And he like keeps elbowing us in the rib and he is the biggest jerk I've ever met. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, this is painful. And Will and Michael see this and they end up going up to that guy and Michael punches him in the side to try and get him to stop elbowing us because we're not trying to shove him out of the way. Although low-key, we totally were. But he's just being like a jerk about it. And this guy has that type of face that you just look at and you instantly get mad. And I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot stand this guy. Well, they end up holding onto the thing, and then we don't get sucked in the mosh pit or anything, but then Sleeping with Sirens comes on. And Beartooth was good, but I hadn't really listened to him at the time. Now I love them because I've seen them live a couple of times. But anyways, so Beartooth goes out, Sleeping with Sirens comes in, and in between these times, there's about a 15-minute intermission because they have to get all their stuff set up and all their backdrops and all that. So during that time, people kind of let up and you can breathe for half a second or so. And the fun part about this concert, I don't know when this happened, but I ended up cracking my rib. Like, just one of my lower ribs, like, in here, ends up cracking. And so that was like the worst pain of my life. After we went back to our hotel, I could feel it and my entire body was just aching and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so painful. But anyway, so Sleeping with Sirens comes on, and the first thing Kellen Quinn says is that he's super sick, and so he doesn't know how good of a performer he's going to be. And to me, like, if you're sick, that's fine, but you're here, so don't complain about it, just do it. And Vic was sick that night too, and I'll get into that in a minute. But anyway, so he gets up there, and he's kind of like, I don't know, Kellen Quinn comes across as a jerk. I don't know how else to put it. He gets up there and he acts like he's the coolest guy in the room, which to me, I don't know, Kellen Quinn makes good music, but he's not my favorite person. So after seeing him live, I'm like, I don't even know if I want to stay for Pierce the Veil because he comes across this way, and if Vic's that way, then I don't want to find out. Like, I'd rather not meet the person that I love and then have them end up being a total jerk. And so I was like, I don't know if I want to stay. And after Sleeping with Sirens, we ended up leaving the front because I was like, I don't know if I want to stay for this. And we go to the back, and there's like steps, so I'm standing on one of the steps, so I can see pretty well. And I told Will, I was like, babe, I don't know if I want to do this. And I explained my reasoning and all that. And he's like, well, we paid to get here. You know, we're here, so just do it and you won't regret it. And I was like, okay. So we stay. And Sleeping with Sirens goes off the stage, and then we're just waiting and waiting and waiting. And finally, Pierce the Veil comes on stage. And I remember, like, they would like peek from behind the curtains and everyone would start screaming their heads off. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so they come on stage, and when we see them, we just start screaming. Like, I'm freaking out because I love them. Like, I love their music. I've loved them for years. And this is my first concert, so I'm hoping that they'll make up for it. And they totally did. So they get on stage and they go through a whole bunch of songs. They played 8 songs, I think, total. And I knew the words to every single song, and it was just the best experience. I can't even explain to you that experience. And the best part, I think, was Vic did an acoustic song. He did I Blow on Gas and You Forgot Her Jacket. I think that's what it's called. He did that one acoustic, and his voice was kind of breaking out a little bit, like not bad, like obviously he's perfect. But anyways, so he lets the crowd sing, and normally where the crowd would stop, we all just kept going, like the entire crowd is just singing that song to him. And he takes a step back and he's like, guys, that's never happened to me at a concert. Like, this is the most amazing crowd I've ever seen. And we were all like, you know, thinking we're so cool. But anyways, so they did absolutely amazing. And the main thing that I was waiting for was for them to perform King for a Day, which is Sleeping with Sirens and Pierce the Veil together. It's Pierce the Veil featuring Kellen Quinn or whatever. And I didn't think they were going to do it because I thought if they were going to, it would be like in between. It would be like right after Sleeping with Sirens, right before Pierce the Veil. But they didn't, and I was like, oh my gosh, they're not going to do it. And that's the song I really wanted to hear because I love that song. And I know that I sound so basic right now, but I don't even care. And at the end, they like shut off the lights, like that's the end. And then Kellen and Vic come out and perform that song, and I'm like, oh my gosh, and Kateri and I are like freaking out. So the concert ends. It's absolutely wonderful. If you've seen Will wear a Pierce the Veil hat, he actually bought that hat at the concert. I didn't buy any more merch because, like I said, I had 15 shirts, literally 15 shirts in my closet. I didn't need any more. But that was the main concert. It was absolutely amazing. It was wonderful. I've never experienced anything like that. Like, I've been to other concerts. I went to Warped and stuff like that, and it's just never as good as that was. So that was the main thing. And then after that, we went back to our hotel and we went to sleep like right when we got there because the concert didn't get over till like 11:30. But we did grab food on the way home. We had McDonald's. Like, that's all we ate when we were gone was the McDonald's dollar menu. But we did that, and it was absolutely amazing. And then the next day we woke up at 9 and we drove home, and we just talked about the concert the entire way. And then this weird thing happened. So before I saw them, I loved them. Like, I loved Pierce the Veil, and it was okay, and I would like look at pictures of them and stuff. But when I got home, I just had this craving to go to another concert. So I'd like watch live performances, I would watch their interviews, and I just really wanted to go again. And I didn't end up going for like 7 months or 8 months after, but it was the best experience, and it gave me this urge to want to go all the time. And I still have that craving when I talk about it or when I think about it. But I still have that craving to want to go. But anyways, so yeah, there was nothing really eventful on the way home, but that was just an amazing experience. And if you're ever like faced with the opportunity to go and see them, I highly recommend doing it because they are such good performers. I mean, the lights that they have, and they like shot confetti, and just the performance itself is so amazing and unlike anything I've ever seen. Like at Warped Tour, we saw Beartooth, and we saw who else? Asking Alexandria, a couple of other bands, and none of them even compared to Pierce the Veil. So if you ever have the opportunity, I recommend doing it. That trip altogether, though, we ended up spending about $400, and that's a lot of money, but it was so worth it. And yeah. Anyways, I just wanted to share this really awesome experience because, first of all, I love like reliving it in my mind. Like, it just makes me so excited. But that was my best concert experience. Now, I also have a worse concert experience that I'm thinking about uploading because It was seriously so horrible, and it actually has to do with Warped Tour. So if you guys want to see that, go ahead and leave a like on this video, and maybe I'll upload that in the next couple of weeks. But I just wanted to say Happy New Year, and I know this video is super long, I'm so sorry, but I wanted to kick it off with a long video, a video I wanted to really record for you guys, and something that I'm like passionate about. So welcome to 2017. I might record a video about my New Year's resolution. It's not actually that, it's just something I want. But anyways, until my next video, I will talk to you soon. Bye!